name's Larry DiPaolo. I'm a private investigator. I'll go any place, anytime, to uncover the truth. And my tool of choice is the polygraph instrument. Some people lie for the sake of lying. Other people lie to be manipulative. Liars are dangerous, dangerous people. Tim, do you have any knowledge of the embezzlement that you know that has occurred at your company?
No.
I'm basically a modern-day cowboy. Have polygraph, will travel. I deal with prisoners, convicted felons, drug users, and couples with infidelity issues. I deal with the absolute scum of the earth, people that would harm a child and lie about it. And I deal with everyday normal people just like you and me. People that have just made bad judgments and decided to lie because it's the easy way out. They decided to take the path of least resistance.
Greetings. My name is Morin Jr. and I am the TV show host of Conspiracy Network TV. And this is the month of November. I remember talking to you last month in the month of October, letting you know that I seriously believe that Romney was going to lose and Obama would once again be our president. And as it goes to say, Obama is our president. And so what I told people in the state of California is to start to hunker down and to start to prepare for things that they themselves need to put on their list of things to do. Today, I am very, very fortunate and to have a person that I've been talking about polygraphs for so many years now, and have showed people that I've used polygraph tests in the past to where I myself have Larry DiPaolo from Morin Polygraph in Danville, California, come up here today with me to be one of my guests, and he's going to have his time to speak and go ahead and talk about what the polygraph does and what kind of work he does in the communities with probation, CONRAP, and just his everyday life of being a cowboy, as you've seen on that beginning clip on how he himself does his work in his life and how he makes life better for all of us when it comes to exposing the truths. And my hat's off to Larry DiPaolo for making this trip up here today. Thank you very, very much. So let me get into some of the things that we're going to talk about. And I want to go ahead and bring up that in this good book, this King James Bible here, we see the Bible is 97% law. The Bible is 97% law and is moderated by laws. 29% of the Bible is personal, on a personal basis with your maker, your believer, God. And that being said, I want to go ahead and instruct how important it is to basically be able to know when people are telling the truth and what they say is the truth, especially when we're living in the times that we're living today. I want to show you a clip real quick that was done by President Obama's administration recently in 2011, and they were talking about the targeted individuals with electromagnetic and microwave weapons that are being used on persons in the community without their consent and without their saying that it is something that they submit to. I'm going to show you a little clip here of basically how the polygraph is going to be used with Homeland Security in the future.
By looking at the brain, we can read, we can understand states, mental states as well as mental traits, not just long-term personality, intelligence, whatever, but also current mood, intention, am I lying, do I want to buy this thing? That all comes from brain imaging. It's in principle available, and in practice available as well. And I am going to just say lie detection here now. It is it's, in my opinion, not, its validity has not been demonstrated. It has many potential uses, including national security, law, personnel screening, and so forth. There have been 2 attempts to use it in court. I was at the Daubert hearing in Memphis. It was much closer than I ever would have dreamed.
So, just going ahead to see that little clip there, you see that Homeland Security in the future is thinking of ways right at this moment to use lie detection equipment on the masses of people. This was something that I found really, really interesting, especially since we're getting into America, to where now, you know, we have just more and more GPS, more and more technology that allows us to follow and monitor everywhere we go, other peoples and persons and places. Google can basically focus right into your house where you're at, and see a fly on your drink. So we have these type of technologies where masses of people are going to be able to be honed in on and found out if they are telling the truth, and if the truth exists in what people are saying, which is very, very, very interesting, and I'm really hats off to that. Thank you for Homeland Security on that. I want to basically go ahead and give another little clip here. And if we go to picture number 5, we'll see the picture of the late great planet Earth. Now, that picture there of the late great planet Earth, and the reason why I'm bringing it up, pertaining it to what I just talked about, 1957, and the Sputnik and the ECC, is because in Hal Lindsey's book, he speaks of a rapture. And that rapture, that meaning the Christian church was supposed to be whisked away into heaven and out of the destruction that was supposed to be left here on earth, and the complete horror and complete calamity and complete disease and anything that you think would be going wrong on earth, anybody left here on the earth was to be tortured, raped, brutalized, victimized over and over again, worse than any Hannibal Lecter, worse than any serial killer movie that you ever seen. That was only a picnic in a park with a Boy Scout compared to the things that were to happen at that time, because it says the devil, the Antichrist, will be in charge of this world. And we already know, Christians already know, that when the Antichrist finally has his time to reign on earth, it's not going to be pretty. Jesus Christ came to this world so that wouldn't happen, and he held it back to where we're at right now. And it's way better now than it'll ever be 1 second at that time. So, speaking of what Hal Lindsey was going to do, Hal Lindsey said from the year 1948, which I spoke about, that Israel was the time clock for the beginning of all things, the signs of the end times, to the end, the countdown to the end of the world. And Hal Lindsey describes that in that book. And that book is sold millions and millions of copies. The man is a millionaire. He's called the Jeremiah of the modern day Jeremiah by congressmen. He sat in the White House before the assassination attempt on Ronald Wilson Reagan. He gave scripture and was guiding Ronald Reagan what to do with Israel before the rapture was to happen and what was going to happen. They were discussing the rapture, and Ronald Reagan was working with Hal Lindsey in the White House with the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and for the end of the world, the Cold War, the 7-year battle, the Armageddon, and all that. He was discussing that with Ronald Reagan. Now, I gave prophecy on Ronald Reagan's assassination attempt and the Pope's attempt, and I did this from inside of a jail. I did this inside of San Bruno County Jail. I announced it, and I gave the men that were on the tank and the tier the amount of time that it was going to happen, and to the date that it was going to happen. Yes, I find that very interesting to basically go ahead and bring that back up to you, because when we're talking about being able to have a polygraph and to have that, you see me sort of like fakely strapped in here now, but I want to make sure that people understand that I am willing to take a polygraph to find, to prove these things are truthful to you anytime that there's a challenge made to have this done. As long as I want you to understand is, if you advertise and let many newspapers and let many media outlets know that basically, hey, this guy said that he made some kind of prophecy on the Pope and Reagan well, anything you find interesting on today's show, if you want to challenge me on this, Matter of fact, in 1980s, when I had said on other television shows, basically that the prisons in California, we got Soledad, we got Folsom, we got Susanville, we got Marysville, and the prison system in the state of California, there's more prisons in this one state than all the states in the United States combined. You got to remember that basically at that time, from San Francisco, creator of joints and the ways that the prisons were to be unleashed on mankind, the destruction that was supposed to happen if this rapture was to happen. I basically can, if you go to my website, you could see in the website some of the things that I discuss of the race wars and the killings and the tortures that these were supposed to be unleashed. And it's all been proven in books and in facts, and I'm willing to take polygraph on that also, that I was used for that. So getting into a couple more things, because we really want Larry to come on here and talk today. We don't want to spend most of my time with me. We want to give this man a couple, at least give him some time to have his understandings of how he himself is going to make people that feel that the use of the polygraph, especially when it comes to a targeted individual or a person that has lived through some tragic event, that can use the polygraph to not only make himself feel better, but to help other people in a way. I find the polygraph as a useful helping tool to help other people in humanity. What more helps other people but to live a truthful and sound good life, So let me see here. There's one last little click here. There's a person that I had on the show here recently, and I want you to go ahead and watch this clip.
Question here is, do homosexuals go out there and recruit and hang out in certain places like latrines, boys clubs, gyms, locker rooms, outhouses, and do they find places to recruit and look for other males and other people that they want, other females that they want to have sexual encounters with?
Well, it's called cruising, and they cruise all the time. And any place they see, like I said before, anytime they see another male, they try to get that in bed. Period. And it doesn't age really. I mean, little kids, no, but a 15-year-old boy that's a football star or something. The old queens, they just start to drool. I mean, you can't stop them from like going, whoa, I need that one, And 15 is like, okay, 14, you're still talking, it's still viable. And of course, there's groups like NAMBLA and stuff, but God, I hate that stuff. Anyway.
We get back to say the reason why that I brought that my friend up, Mike, that was like he had said he's a born again Christian now. He used to have the lifestyle of living the homosexual lifestyle, where he basically came on my show and explained. If I was to tell you, you might say, "Oh, Wayne's he's just going after homosexuals. He's just hating the homosexuals, and he's got something in." That is not true. Even though the homosexuals bombard me and continuously at my house, threaten me time and time again, and basically have me, gang stalking, and even in our Constitution, our farmers basically had stated our houses are places where we ourselves should feel safe and have the quietness of our own place. We basically, all my rights have been violated. And I basically continuously have the understandings to where I bring these people on the show to make it more comfortable for you to basically understand it. If these things are going on, how can we stop and how can we share and make things better for other people? I'm just going to go ahead and end this one thing up today. I want you to know that in the 1980s also, there was pictures and diagrams drawn about me, and the news media in San Francisco and the higher elite homosexuals in San Francisco, when it comes to the drug world and the tenderloin, basically had put the word out. In the Day of Wonders, there's ways that people have explained how for the 3 years of miracle working and prophecies and healings and things are going to be worked out on this world. If anybody would like to give me any kind of polygraph test on that, I'm willing to take that, as long as you basically go ahead and take your time to share that to people to watch and get interested, that I don't have to do the whole thing myself. And from that being said, I am just so thankful to go ahead and put Larry on the show here and let Larry continue to talk and get something done. Thank you very much for coming on the show and doing this with me today. You really made my day, man. I'm going to send a lot of people your way. Thank you.
Good to be here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much.
Good to be here.
Yeah.
You know, I was listening to what you said and earlier, and my morning polygraph was a young person who had been molested from the age of 13 to the age of 18. It just stopped in October of 2011 was the last event. Absolutely destroying her family, people in her family, and her own family didn't believe her. It was the mother's boyfriend. People in their own family didn't believe this. And it was ripping the family apart. And it can be quite liberating to get to the truth at times. And I'm a truth seeker. I'm a truth finder. That's what I do. Wherever there's conflicting versions of the truth, I get involved. Whether it's molestation, rape, infidelity, drug use, theft. I can go on and on. There's very few positive instances in my business. The one example is a fishing tournament. Most people don't know if you win a fishing tournament, you need to take a polygraph test in order to collect your prize money. But these people who have stories to tell and nobody believes them, it can be devastating to them. Absolutely devastating.
And you know, Larry, that is so true. You know, I mean, to the people that I deal with, and not changing the subject, and want you to be able to talk as much as you can, but I'm dealing with people that are targeted individuals and people that have or been accused of having mental disabilities or mental imbalances, and those people, you at least want to let them have the chance of telling the truth and being able to get strapped in for them to figure out, hey, you know what, maybe this was all on my mind, it's not coming back normal, you know? They be able to find out the truth themselves, you know?
Yeah, you know, I want to be clear about something. The polygraph is not omniscient. It is not godlike. It does have its limitations.
Yes.
But when there is consequences to the examinee, when the subject matter is important to the examinee, it's a very effective tool. So if the examinee has a lot to gain or a lot to lose, even credibility, the polygraph will be a very valuable tool.
Yes, and thank you for saying that, for letting people know that the polygraph isn't a 100% accuracy. But as you and I both know, some of the people that we've dealt with through the years, a polygraph with the person that's giving, the instructor that's giving it, usually can see through a lot of the tricks that maybe a person that's trying to beat the polygraph, or a person that might be on medication, that the polygraph instructor can notice and see how these things can go to trying to fool a polygraph. What are some of the stories that you've seen that just recently, or some of the things that you brought up? You mentioned a pillow to me.
Well, the old method of beating the polygraph, even when I was a kid, my dad talked about it, was putting a tack in your shoe. You put a tack in your shoe, and it can instantaneously increase your blood pressure. To that similar of deception. but those were older instruments that were being used, and it really threw things off. Now we use a computerized digital polygraph, so putting a tack in your shoe and stepping on it would throw off such an anomaly. The reaction would be so big that you would know something is going on that's wrong. Now, the cat and mouse game of the polygraph exam comes between the examiner and the examinee. The examinee is not going to know when to step on the tack. You see, there's the relevant questions. That is why I'm here today. Did you commit the crime? Did you steal the money? Whatever the relevant issues are. Then there's some irrelevant questions, and then there's some control questions. Now, I don't want to go too deep into what a polygraph exam consists of, because for obvious purposes. But the cat and mouse game comes into it when the examinee thinks they have a strategy to beat the polygraph, but they don't really know properly how to employ it. To go on a little bit, for obvious reasons, people in our government need to know how to pass a polygraph. It's called countermeasures, and in fact, we teach them. But to manipulate your body at the right time to the right degree takes extreme skill. So there's 2 large arteries that run down your leg, each leg, the femoral artery, and you can manipulate those arteries and manipulate your blood pressure and do some things. So that's the bad guys getting ahead to trick the polygraph. So now the polygraph examiners have a giant, if you will, whoopee cushion that you sit on that plugs into your computer. They can tell if you're trying to manipulate the instrument a little bit. So it's back and forth. It's just sort of like drugs, right? The drug users do the drugs. Then they come up with drug testing, and then the manufacturers manufacture masks and agents that hide the drugs. And it gets more sophisticated and more sophisticated, and it keeps going up. Drugs, catch them for the drugs, hide the drugs. Polygraph's the same way. It's been there for a while. Then there's been some ways to manipulate it, trick it, beat it for whatever reason. You know, but the science catches up quickly. Just like ultimately now when you take drug testing, they look for those agents that mask the drugs. And now you get DQ'd or disqualified or fired or don't get the job or whatever the case may be, because you have agents in your system that are indicative of taking chemicals to hide drugs.
Exactly.
So it's, you know, does it have its limitations? Absolutely. Anybody that tells you it doesn't. But I'm going to tell you something. If it's your daughter you're looking for, or your son that you're looking for, and there's one suspect that, you know, looks pretty good, that he's got the hot hand that you could have it, you want to use every tool possible. And to take it a step further, police officers use guns. They certainly have limitations, don't they? It's a tool in a tool belt, and it's got some downfalls to it, but it doesn't mean we take guns away from police officers. We still allow them to use them as tools. And so does it have its limitations? Sure it does. Is it still an effective credibility tool to assess credibility? Absolutely. And we find that out constantly by confirming the truth afterwards, by people calling up and after they get home and saying they just confessed or whatever the case may be. So we all always hear it.
Yeah, you know, Larry, that I'm so glad that you brought that up, because we want people to understand that just by hearing Larry today and hearing how that he seems like a person that's here to explain and make you feel comfortable about getting strapped in. To me, this is not a hard, uncomfortable feeling. And to people who would feel interested in just listening to the man and how he makes you feel comfortable about explaining the situations to you, if that is one of the things that you are worried about, oh, I'm going to get all paranoid, I'm going to set it, it's going to trigger something off, believe me, that's not how I felt today at all. And being with Larry today on this show has been a really, really great experience, and I'm hoping that, you know, you can come back and do more shows in the future with me on Conspiracy Network TV, and maybe in the future, if it need be, we can work out some kind of live demonstration where people in other states that, you know, someone's being strapped in with a similar thing, being a targeted individual, needs to get that information out to people that are in Philadelphia, or we can broadcast that a live stream so people over there can all feel comfortable and at the same time use Morin Polygraph more in the future for things like that, or be on the road with a convention or something. We can always help those kind of things out. Thank you so very much for coming down today and
You're
doing
welcome.
this show with us today, Larry. Thank you so very
You're
much.
welcome.
The new nonfiction book, Razor of Madness, is similar to cult movies like Clockwork Orange, Dragon's Tattoo, or The Other Side of Hell. Wayne Morin Jr. and Thomas Lee Howe will expose widespread and systematic deficiencies in this thought-provoking tell-all novel. Mind control rages among scholars in law schools. Human rights are ignored while thought reform and mental manipulation are accepted practices used as behavior modification. Dr. Louis Jolyon West comes to mind. Media and public scrutiny shows that United States mental hospitals are in fact destructive murder industries. Razor of Madness expose novel details this epidemic through an in-depth professional and personal investigation. For decades, there has been a revolving door policy that still releases killers and pedophiles back into society. The maestro of mind control continues to haunt America to this very day. Razor of Madness is available in paperback or as a downloadable ebook at Amazon.com.